Gates that have held Allied soldiers prisoner, in some cases for as long as 5 years, are opened in Stalag 11B. Look closely, you may recognize someone you know. "5 years, and now it's over. British desert rats of the 7th Armoured Division cut through to Fallingbostel in Westphalia to open the doors of this Stalag. A touching goodbye to Hitler, and out of the barbed wire cage to freedom. It's the same story at Stalag 357, also at Fallingbostel, and also opened up by the desert rats. The Germans have now decided to leave all Allied prisoners behind in camps in the path of the advancing armies. For the German camp commandant, the tables have been well and truly turned. At Offlag 79 in Brunswick, biggest camp in Germany for officer prisoners, 2,200 British and Empire officers were freed by the 30th Division of General Simpson's American 9th Army. German General Karl Veit, commander of the Brunswick garrison, is among the Allied bag of prisoners. He seems proud of being a Nazi even now. On the lookout for known Nazis, the Allies check up on civilians in Schweinfurt. What a farce it would be if a bloke turned up with a little moustache and a paper-hanger's bucket. You'll never know. The Hitler Youth, Europe's big problem for the future, line up for identification. Besides a good catch of prisoners, Schweinfurt yielded up yet another prize. This much-bombed town was the center of Germany's ball bearing industry. Vital components for aircraft, submarines, tanks, and everything on wheels. The German army has had its last ball bearing from Schweinfurt. Buried treasure, another haul, more precious if not more useful, was found hidden in a salt mine at Merkens. 100 tons of Germany's gold reserve were discovered here, a veritable King Solomon's mines. Also found were priceless art treasures, stolen by the Germans from galleries such as the Paris Louvre. But Paris has not forgotten treachery, as an inset into our story shows. Press pictures in back issues of a French paper show French traitors in Nazi uniform. The camera indicts the Vichy collaborators Lafont and Bonny, and shows Allied prisoners being ill-treated at their orders by men and women hired by the French Gestapo chiefs to demonstrate against Allied servicemen for propaganda purposes. In the background, Nazi rank and filers enjoy the spectacle. A French cameraman risked his life to take these pictures during the German occupation. They were used in evidence at the trial of Lafont and Bonny. They paid the price of treachery before an FFI firing squad. All the way from Paris to Berlin, the cleaning up process is on. German civilians hand over all the paraphernalia of war. It's an Allied order. The fitting end to pictures of the writing off of Germany is a reminder spoken at Bristol that another big job is still on hand.
We have the Japanese to finish. We have to stand absolutely with our great American ally in paying off at the other end of the world debts as heavy as ever were inflicted on her. And I shall have to ask you, or whoever stands in my place, and whoever it be, I shall support him. We shall have to ask you, whatever the matter, however the matter may go, we shall have to ask you for a new leap forward, a new lift of soul and body, in order that this second heavy war, from which we have suffered so much insult and injury, the war against Japan, shall also be brought without undue delay to a conclusion altogether free from any doubt.
We were captured at Arnhem on the Tuesday morning after we jumped. We were taken about 40 kilo back, almost on the borders of Belgium, Holland and Germany, and placed into cattle trucks. There were roughly 50 or 60 men to a truck. The wounded were put into a separate truck and allowed to have straw. There were no toilet facilities in the truck, and they were locked the whole time. 2 guards to a truck. We travelled south, right down the Ruhr Valley, and saw the bombing, and the state of Cologne, Duisburg, Dusseldorf, and ended up, after 4.5 days, at Frankfurt.
We had a couple of days' rest at Frankfurt. After that, we were again put in cattle trucks. We ended up at Stalag HC, Sturges, another 4 days' journey. Our rations were half a loaf for 4 days and 1 drink of coffee. After reaching HC at Sturges, we were put in groups and sent out on working parties. Both of us were sent out to work at Breslau.
On the commando that we were working at, we were suddenly roused out at 1 o'clock in the morning for destination unknown and to march for evacuation. Our rations for the journey we were given at first a half of loaf and some margarine. Marched in batches of 300, and in all about 25,000 of us. The postons, that is the German guards, were given bicycles and were one approximately every 100 yards. And the dogs, the German guards had dogs, they marched in front and behind of each column. We were not given any facilities for water until we finished the day's journey. We were travelling at approximately 20 kilo a day.
Well, this march carried on daily, with our rations a quarter of a loaf a day, with a little margarine, cheese, or anything like that. No hot soups. We just had a drink of coffee each morning. Conditions were very bad. It was German winter, and there was plenty of snow, rain, hail, and very, very cold. We still didn't know our destination, but we carried on marching every day, and the Germans wouldn't tell us where we were landing up at. Until finally, after 8 weeks on the road, we landed up at Hanover after covering 500 miles across Germany.
With the sick. At Hanover, we were placed in a military camp which was run by the organization Todd, that is the German workers. Here, the very next morning, without any extra rations or medical treatment of any sort, we were marched 8 kilos to the railway to work. We lost men on the march who were too weak to continue the 8 kilo, and we were supposed to work until 6 o'clock in the evening. That was a 12-hour day. But there was practically no work done. The men could hardly turn a shovel, and we marched back. This went on for a couple of days, and then the men were absolutely exhausted and refused to work the whole camp. The Germans did nothing about it, but the treatment in the camp was very, very bad. The man in charge was an absolute rogue, and the boys received nothing more than they were getting on the march, no medical treatment. The camp had been bombed by the RAF and the Americans, and was pretty easy to break away. And when we heard the news of the American advance break through at the Rhine, we made a break for it a couple of nights before, met a Frenchman who hit us up, and here we are. Good. By God, what a day. Yes?
Yes.